Time for business news. Richard Southern joins us now. And Richard, a real Canadian success story continues to make major waves on the markets.
We're talking about Shopify, Tina, and if you haven't heard of it, this is now becoming Canada's biggest tech success story. This is an Ottawa-based company. What they do, they sell a subscription software service that allows you to sell whatever you want online. So, if Tina, if you want to sell a book or whatever you want to sell, you sign up to them and they provide a way for you to do that on your website. This company has been a favorite of investors. The stock's up like 70% since November. They reported very strong earnings today. The stock was up another almost 8%. So, becoming really the darling of Canada's tech space. And really, Canada struggled to keep a big technology company. Of course, we know what happened to Research in Motion. Right. Didn't really happen with Corel. Obviously, we know all the troubles Nortel had. So hopefully Shopify can sort of hold that torch as a big Canadian success story. They're in Ottawa, but they're opening a big office here in Toronto, too. So Shopify doing quite well, too.
Yeah, and I actually know a few people who work there, and they say it's a great place to work. I wonder if that has something to do with how great it's doing.
Seventh biggest stock now on Bay Street. These guys are becoming hard to ignore, and as you say, people like working for them, investors like buying them, so good on Shopify.
Now, speaking of jobs, a new study shows that a six-figure salary doesn't necessarily make life easier from a financial standpoint.
$100K ain't what it used to be. But get this, new study found, Tina, that 1 in 5 people, 18% of people that make $100,000 a year live paycheck to paycheck. And it's no surprise to the financial experts because, it's long been known that typically the more you make, the more you spend. And, of course, the high cost of living is a factor. Here in the GTA, if you want to own, 100K isn't a whole lot of money, right, when you factor in all the expenses.
Right.
And, a survey as well found that 41% of working Canadians spend all their money that they make and often go into debt on top of that. And, it's just tough. When you work a stressful job, you go home, maybe you're ordering food, and there's a lot of this discretionary spending people have right now.
Yeah.
And so it's just tough to sort of save money at the end of the month.
Yeah, definitely, especially in a city like Toronto. I wonder what that sweet number is when you just don't have to worry at all anymore.
Yeah, good question. Maybe another 100K on top of that.
Yeah, probably. Now, a tiny Korean company is cashing in on the film Parasite.
So obviously, this one. Did you watch Oscar night, Tina?
Of course, and I haven't actually watched this film yet, but I've heard such great things about it.
Yeah, I know. I've been sort of checking the movie times. I want to go see it.
Yeah.
It's done so well, won the Oscar, and no one's happier than a small South Korean hedge fund that invested in this movie. It's called Rukyung Asset Management. They kicked in $500,000. Well, the movie's gone on to make $165 million and rising.
Oh, wow.
So a big return on investment. This particular fund, they only invest in South Korean movies, and the fund has returned 72% over the past year and a half. So it really underscores how investors are looking to some more obscure investments like movie funds to try and make some money. Before we go, Tina, speaking of movies, Cineplex has just been bought by a UK company called Cineworld, and we found out today from Cineworld that they're not going to change the Cineplex name, though they warned there may be some job cuts. So that's the latest on Cineplex.
Interesting. All right. And before we go, Richard, you've got a quick look at gas prices.
Price of gas going down a penny tonight, though the trend calls for perhaps a 2-cent uptick on Friday, so keep that in mind. We're back just a little after 6:30, looking at some random facts that will blow your mind. Plus, I took one for the team, and I watched the Westminster Dog Show, and we're going to be looking at all the puppies coming up at 6:30.
Thanks, Richard. I can't wait for that. We'll talk later.
Thanks.